The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was released over 7 years ago, and for many of you, this game will be remembered as one of the best video games of all time. And this Thursday, CDPR officially releases the next-gen version of this beloved title. A version that's, let's face it, is basically a remaster in all but name. And today I want to go over some of the things that you guys will experience firsthand on the 14th of December. Because you see, I've played the next-gen version of Witcher 3, and before I start, I just want to give a huge thank you to CDPR for sending me this review code and giving me this opportunity to review it early. Now, we all know that the story of this game is simply amazing, so I'm going to go over most of the new additions that you will see on release, but have in mind that I haven't been able to find every piece of new content yet. You see, I received my review code Friday last week, and despite playing The Witcher 3 through every waking hour this weekend, I've only now reached Skellige, and let's face it, saying that The Witcher 3 is a huge game is a massive understatement to say the least, so it's definitely gonna take some time for me to find every single new detail. Anyway, let's talk about graphics. Now, this is probably the biggest talking point of the next-gen version, and, well, how do I put this? The next-gen version is just beautiful to look at. First and foremost, the environmental part is probably the biggest game changer for me, as the next-gen Witcher 3 has introduced me to some of the most gorgeous scenery I've seen in a video game. Looking at from Kaer Morhen has just never felt more immersive and epic, as the level of detail has just been upgraded to the absolute maximum. I've literally been gawking at some points when journeying through this new and improved version of the continent, and the improved lighting effects can be seen mostly everywhere you go in the game. That isn't to say that the lighting is the only thing that's been upgraded, because CDPR has done some tremendous work with textures as well, as skin, armor, and hair looks even more detailed than before. Now you can really see the nitty-gritty details on most characters as you close in on them, and together with the new lighting, it just does wonders in both setting the tone for some scenes or just giving some characters that extra oomph when they're in conversation with you. Geralt especially just overall looks better, and I don't know if it's because of the upgraded lighting, but I've noticed his facial animations much more during my playthrough. Hell, it's even possible that CDPR has overhauled some animations, but again, this hasn't been stated by them, so I can't say for sure. And yes, before you ask, most of the monsters also seem to have a higher quality texture than before, which is really cool. Of course, water has also been made to look better, and I especially love the improved reflections whenever it's raining or whenever there's water involved. Everything just looks so wet.
Yeah, boy.
Speaking of rain, the new and improved weather effects are just a sight to behold, and again, there have been times that I've just been standing around just to look at the weather because it really does look that good. Now, if you're playing on console like I am for this review, you'll be able to choose between performance mode and ray tracing mode in the graphics menu. And as is the usual when it comes to presets like this, ray tracing mode sacrifices the buttery smooth frames per second to give you an even more realistic look of the game, with lighting effects being displayed in full, yet at the cost of only being able to run at 30 FPS. And I'm gonna be honest here, as much as I love the extra spice that the ray tracing mode gives you, it just hurts my eyes to play games below 60 FPS. So I settled for performance mode, which honestly just looks amazing as well. And well, I just haven't played with ray tracing mode at all since the intro. Now, let's move on to some gameplay related stuff, as CDPR has added quite a few new things to the next-gen version. One aspect is the options menu, which has been expanded by a lot, as you can now customize several things you may not have been able to before. For example, you can set your minimap to fade out of view while out exploring for that extra bump in immersion. Or if you want to, you can literally just turn off your entire HUD for maximum realism. Have in mind that you might get lost in the woods while doing this. However, in that case, you can just go to your options menu and activate your HUD again. The next-gen version also introduces an alternative movement response setting, which makes Geralt move much more fluidly to your controls. Of course, you can switch back to the standard movement response setting, but Geralt just feels so clumsy to control compared to the new setting, which is really just a game changer for me personally. But let's move on to some of the bigger things this update brings, such as the new camera angle setting, which lets you choose between the vanilla angle and the new close-up camera while controlling Geralt. Now, I'll admit that the new close camera angle takes some time getting used to, especially during combat, as you don't have the same sort of 360-degree view of the battlefield anymore. Which means that, like me, you'll most likely get struck in the back more than you normally do, as you can't see enemies behind you. However, it does get better after some time, and this setting actually does make the combat feel more visceral, and you actively have to use your camera to look around as to not get hit. And I do actually prefer the new close camera angle over the vanilla one because I just feel more engaged when playing, whether it's fighting or simply tracking monsters and exploring. Quick sign casting is also a new feature of the next-gen version, and well, it really is a game changer as you can now just cast signs on the fly. Now, I'll admit that since this is the first time I've been playing The Witcher 3 on a controller, it definitely took some time getting used to which sign was assigned to which button. But when you've memorized it, Geralt can really turn into a semi-wizard as you quick cast left and right, and coupled with the close camera setting, quick casting does make combat much more fun in my opinion. Now, a quick word for my fellow PlayStation 5 gamers. Yes, the next-gen version does introduce haptic feedback and adaptive trigger settings for your controller. And well, it's alright. There's nothing really mind-blowing here. There are times where you can feel some haptic resistance, like holding R2 when priming your quick signs or whenever you're fighting, but I'd say that the haptic feedback support is a nice little extra bonus for PS5 users. But again, you're not really missing that much if you're on Xbox or PC, so you don't really need to worry about it being some huge feature you're missing out on. Speaking of controllers, there are 3 different movement speeds for Geralt, and you alternate between slow walking to normal walking to jogging by simply pushing the movement stick slightly or fully. These movement speeds are also for PC, but unfortunately I'm not really sure how you do it on keyboard. Also, some of you guys may have heard about some new finishers that Geralt can perform on enemies, but so far I haven't seen any new ones. There might be a special requisite for it, or maybe I've missed it, but as I mentioned before, I haven't received any patch notes, so I can't say for sure. Now, aside from these bigger settings, there are some additional ones, like the fact that you can change the size of subtitles, and there's even new languages added to the game altogether, like simplified Chinese. There are also several other minor settings that I haven't checked out because I've been completely absorbed in just playing the game so far. Speaking of which, as I mentioned earlier, there is some new content aside from settings and a graphical upgrade, and one of these new additions is a new questline which involves getting the Witcher gear that Henry Cavill wears in the TV show. Now, of course, I'm not gonna spoil the questline for you, but as you can see, the new armor is absolutely gorgeous and just really detailed, and it looks just like the TV series version. Hell, even the medallion changes to the one in the show when you put the armor on, which is just really cool. Speaking of armor, there are 2 new armor sets that you can get just after the intro of the game, but as not to spoil anything for any new players, I'll be releasing a video on how to obtain these tomorrow, as well as for the Black Henry Cavill armor. Now, I know some of you guys are wondering about mods, and well, I haven't played with any mods because, as you know, I was only provided with a console version. However, I will be leaving a list in the description of mods compatible with the next-gen version for PC, which is a list that CDPR themselves have made. Also, there will be a day 1 patch that releases with the next-gen version, which may or may not fix some of the bugs that I've encountered so far, so keep that in mind. Now, these bugs aren't really that big. Most of them have to do with some ray tracing effects seemingly not working properly, like this mountain range on Skellige. And since I haven't played with ray tracing on, I just haven't had that many bugs at all, which might be because CDPR has fixed some of them. Overall, I've had a really stable experience. There was one time when my game froze completely, but it only happened once after like 12 hours of constant gaming on my PS5. As for some final words for this video, I've really not played this much Witcher 3 in a long time. And it's not just because of this review. I've really just fallen in love with this game again. All the new additions definitely had a hand in that, as even if the base game is still the same, the new content, gameplay settings, and graphics just makes The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt feel fresh. And the best thing about it, this de facto remaster is completely free if you own The Witcher 3 already, which is simply just amazing to me. The next-gen update is absolutely a love letter to the fans of this franchise, and no matter if you're already a fan or if you're a newcomer to the Witcher universe, you absolutely must play it. And I, for one, am looking forward to what CD Projekt Red has in store for us next in the Witcher universe. I don't usually give ratings for games, but this time I will make an exception. Next gen The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt gets 10 out of 10 Swedish meatballs. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.